nice to meet you all. You having a good time at the con so far? Yeah, good. Sometimes people will trickle in the middle, which is okay. I assume you are all here either because you've experienced depression, suicide attempts, or you know people who have. I've had both. So that's what actually started all of this was I should not have gotten to a point where I attempted suicide, but getting help was so difficult. You know, I called the state, I called 911, I ended up in a hospital, I ended up in a psych ward, and I'll share all of that with you, but I had asked for help on November 4th without a suicide attempt, and even went and saw a doctor, and begged and begged and begged and begged and begged, and no one would help me. And once I finally got into cognitive behavior therapy, I found out it should have been the easiest thing in the world to get help. People are just ill-informed, even the ones that are supposed to be helping you. So I have cards set up for the end with the suicide prevention hotline number on it, and one for NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Illness, and it's very easy. I don't have any money, so I was worried about that. Turns out with NAMI, they go on a pay scale, and a lot of times they're free. So there is help. So what happened with me was November 4th. My blood pressure went through the roof because of, my fiance and I argued a lot because we didn't know we were both battling depression. Neither one of us knew, but we both knew we wanted to be together, even though it meant arguing all the time. And my blood pressure went through the roof. So I went to the hospital, and they put me in a room by myself and said, we'll be in shortly to give you a sedative to kind of get you calmed down. My blood pressure had gotten up to 186 over 165. And when they put me in that room by myself, it went down to 125 over 75. And they're like, okay, you don't need sedatives, you don't need medication, you need to learn how to not get stressed. You need to learn how to manage the stress. And I was like, well, I can't because we argue about everything all the time. And they're like, well, then you'll need counseling, but you're gonna have to learn how to manage your stress. It's like, okay. So they said, you know, maybe an antidepressant would help you. So they put me on Prozac. And actually they put me on Xanax at the hospital for panic attacks. So 2 days later I went and saw a doctor, and it turned out because I don't have a job and I'm not on the lease right now, I'm considered poor. So they're like, you can get Medi-Cal. Okay. So I go get on Medi-Cal, I go see my doctor 2 days later. She immediately puts me on Prozac. She didn't really ask me a whole lot of questions. She just looked at, you know, what was from the hospital and goes, oh, you have a lot of stress, so here, take this. I'm a writer. I can't write on those things. And a writer who can't write equals depression. So it's kind of a catch-22. So I took it for 3 weeks, and I was making myself and my fiance crazy because I couldn't write. So during that 3 weeks, I waited patiently. They told me that, you know, they had sent me from the doctor to a mental illness facility. And they took me in for, I forget what they're called, but where they talk to you, psych eval. So I went in for that. And they said, all right, we'll call you in 3 weeks. We'll set up an appointment with a psychiatrist so we can keep you on your medications. And I was like, you know, okay, that sounds good. 3 weeks went by, nobody called me. And then it was Thanksgiving. So I'm like, well, I guess we have to wait until Thanksgiving's over. So I waited. Then I called, and I called, and I called, and I left messages and messages and messages and messages. Nothing. Nothing. And then December 21st, we had an argument, and I was just so tired of arguing, I tried to swallow a bottle of pills. I just couldn't take it anymore. And he managed to get most of them out of my mouth, but I swallowed quite a few. So I called 911, and they said, you know, 911, what can I do for you? And I just simply said, I want to die. And they talked to me, and they sent the police, and they kept me on the phone. And the police took me to, I didn't know where they were taking me at the time. I thought a hospital at first, because they said we need to have you looked at. You took a lot of pills. Okay, so they said, now here's the problem. You can't ride in the back of a police cruiser unless you're handcuffed. That was a little panicking. So they cuffed me and put me in the back and buckled me in, and we're headed to the psych ward. I did not realize this is where I was going at first, and I started asking questions. And I said, you know, why do I have to be handcuffed? And they said, well, it's a precaution so you don't throw yourself out of the car. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't do that, but you know, it makes sense. And I said, what hospital are we going to? And they wouldn't answer me. And I said, are we going to a psych ward? And they wouldn't answer me. I was like, oh, well, all right, we'll see what they can do for me. Maybe they'll help me. I was okay with that. Of course, you have all these things running through your heads, like, you know, Girl Interrupted, all these movies that are just terrible, and just like, don't know what I'm going to see. And so we go into this back alley in the middle of Los Angeles, and it's creepy, and there's a light flickering over a back door. And I'm just like, I don't know about this. I want to go home. But I can't go home at this point. And we get out and they punch some numbers in on a keypad, and I come in, and you're in like this holding area where there's lockers set up where the police officers have to take off all of their guns and sticks and everything and put them in these lockers, and you have to stay handcuffed until they decide whether or not you're going to hurt somebody. And then they do that, and then they're like, we have to take your shoelaces. Why? Because so you don't hang yourself. I was like, oh, well, how about I just wear hospital socks or something? They're like, yeah, we can do that. And then they're like, they lifted my shirt up a little bit to see if I had a string on my pajama pants, and I did. And they're like, we can either put you in a hospital gown or we can cut the string off. Just cut the string. I want to keep them closed. So they take me into this area where these big lazy boy recliners are set up, and it's a woman's area, and in the middle is a nurse's area, and the other side's the men's. And everybody's asleep. It's 4 in the morning. And they said, that's your chair. And it had a sheet and a blanket and a pillow. And they were really nice. They offered me food. They offered me some water. They took my cuffs off. And then the next morning, it got really strange. I started realizing that I really needed something in between a psych ward and a home. And they don't really offer that because I didn't belong with the people I was with. I mean, look, you know, in retrospect, I laugh about it because that's what I do. My therapist yells at me about that, by the way. I hide behind humor. And she goes, that's a sign of depression sometimes too. I'm like, seriously? I thought it was like crying in your bed all day. And she's like, no, it can be anger, it can be hiding behind humor, it can be overeating, it can be, you know, all these other things. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I hide behind humor, big time. And she found out when I was in there just how much. But so at the psych ward, you know, I'm sitting between these two women, and I look back now and I kind of laugh about it, but they're talking amongst themselves, and one of them says to the other, you know, she got locked up because she tried to hurt her husband. She goes, but he didn't give me any choice. She said, you know, he hit me in the stomach. And then the other one says, well, you should have shanked him. And she's like, I tried, that's why I'm in here. And I'm just thinking, this is not right. And the more they talk, the crazier it got, because then she starts talking about her children. The other one goes, oh, I have children. So Nikki says to Fredonia, you know, how many children do you have and what are their names? And Fredonia sits there for a minute. She goes, I can't come up with any good names right now. Ask me again in an hour. And the other girl goes, okay, and just goes right on with her story. And I'm just like, this isn't normal. I don't belong in here. And then it got even weirder because the nurse comes in and she has to take our blood pressure. So she goes to Fredonia. She says, I need to take your blood pressure. She says, no, you can't. She's like, why not? She goes, because your washing machine's broke. And we're all just like, what is she talking about? Turns out she comes there once a month. She's homeless and comes there once a month to get her clothes washed and to get a good meal. And then they send her back on her way. And so she has to they have to bribe her with a new pair of sweats because the washing machine was indeed broke, and 2 bus passes.
You're only supposed to get one to go back to where you came from. She's like, well, how do I come back and get my clothes washed again? And so they gave her the 2. So then they go to the second girl, and she's like, oh, she got clothes, I want clothes. I'm just like, this is crazy. I do not belong in this place. And then the nurse comes to me and she says, why are you even here? You don't seem like you belong here. And I said, oh, I tried to commit suicide last night. The other 2 go, whoa, you are crazy. We'll hurt other people, but not ourselves. I was like, wow.